So yesterday we discussed about abstract classes. So if I just ask
Yes.
you what you remember about abstract classes.
Abstract classes are those classes which have abstract methods on abstract methods in the sense which have incomplete body or no body.
Yeah. So that means first point we can simply say abstract classes starts with a keyword called abstract.
Abstract.
Okay. Then what does abstract class consists of?
At least one abstract method on,
Yes.
or all abstract methods.
Yeah, it can be any combination. There is no mandatory rule, but generally we write abstract classes because we may have some abstract methods in that. So can
Yes.
you name some of the abstract methods in shape class?
Uh, Abstract fill color, abstract border color.
Border color with some.
Fill color.
Can we write this, or it's an abstract? Can we write a body for this, or is it terminated?
No body means.
Yeah. So we have a termination.
So we have to use semicolon.
Yeah. So same way. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then we can have what else we can have. Okay.
No, only two abstract classes, and that's all of them
Yeah.
are not.
Any other method which we can write? How do we initialize them? How do we initialize the dimension? Can we write a
Constructor.
constructor? If user wants to define a dimension. Without dimension, we
Dimension.
cannot draw. But here body color is by default taken as
Black. White.
and border color as
Black.
black. Okay. And the dimension anyhow we have to get it from the user.
Yes.
Dot name is equal to day1. Okay, then can I display the details, all the details, display the properties?
Yes, ma'am. Dimension, body color, body.
Yeah.
Now another doubt, like for suppose if we use the keyword abstract and keep a body, what will happen, no?
It will be
And give a body to it.
compile time error. Compile time error.
Okay, so
When
definitely there should
yeah,
not be any body.
yeah, when I mention that means compiler understands the meaning of abstract keyword. That means it will expect it says that semicolon is expected. So
Okay.
when it sees this, it will ask for you to put the semicolon at the end. Cannot have a body, must declare a semicolon. We'll check that while compilation. I'll show that. Okay, that's it. Can we write a draw method? This is also abstract.
Yes.
So this is the definition of an abstract. Now, how do we use an abstract? Can we create an object of this abstract class?
No, no.
No. So how do we use this class? Can anyone use this class? Or is it
Yes, ma'am. We have to inherit it and we have to override it.
so we can just write any class by extending. Extension is the way to use it. And what is the benefit? We are getting with abstract class right now. Previously we did a concrete. Now we converted the same shape into abstract. So any benefit we got with that by using abstract class?
Like previously only we'll plan how it like what all methods should be there now. So accordingly we can edit it in the future.
Yeah, like previously we wrote the body with some non-meaningful messages
Yes, ma'am.
without any meaning. So I don't have to mention it now. First thing means unnecessary code we don't have to write. Whatever is a proper code, we'll write the methods for that.
Yes.
And whatever I don't have any logical code for it, we'll just keep it as abstract. Second thing, now whenever a child class inherits it, if I keep a body here, there's an option. User may override it or may not override it. So
Yes,
how do I
ma'am.
force the user to what do you say override it? Because if I keep it as empty, there is no logic. So everybody should write a logic for that. That is what is my expectation. But if
Yes,
I
ma'am.
give empty body, it's not mandatory. Still user will inherit it, they can use it. It's not like a force for the user. But if I instead I put a semicolon here, so that means I didn't mention the method body. So it becomes mandatory for the child class. Every child which is extending an abstract class becomes must. We must override this method. Otherwise, it was not mandatory. Now it becomes mandatory here. Okay, is that clear?
No, ma'am, I didn't understand.
Okay. See, if I don't keep abstract, if these were not abstract methods, and we write, we write that we cannot fill the color, we write something, no, no color can be
Okay,
filled.
okay. Yes, yes, yes. Got it. Okay. If we don't write abstract,
If
yes,
we
ma'am.
don't write abstract, it's not like a mandatory that you must override. Child will
Yes,
start
yes.
using it
Hmm.
as it is. So how do I force? Because there is no proper logic. I want them to write a logic. So for that,
Yes,
we'll
ma'am.
just
Got it.
discuss not providing a logic here. That is the only solution. If I'm giving a solution, they may inherit as it is. So if I don't give a solution, they have to override the class.
Override it.
So this is I can complete here. So what this class must do? Any class which is extending an abstract class must override all the
All the abstract methods.
yeah all the abstract methods.
Otherwise,
And
it should also be an
yeah,
abstract.
abstract. And the other methods is your wish. Whether you want to override it or not, it's up to you.
Yes.
You have a choice in that. So definitely we'll provide logics for all these three methods. I'll just copy paste here. Now I'll just remove this abstract keyword and we'll just start writing the body for that. So as of now, we are not just saying, we are just putting a dummy message here because it's not a graphical program.
For graphical interface, do we require any other software? No? Like,
Nothing, nothing.
no.
We have libraries. Here only we have to import new libraries. That is.
Okay.
Once we finish, no, this inheritance is done, I'll start
No, I'm like actually, me and my friends, we are planning to start a website now. So
that.
for that,
Website. Okay, for website, Java is not required.
okay.
For website, we need to learn HTML. HTML,
No, HTML
JavaScript.
is front end, no, ma'am. Back end, I'm talking
So
about. Ma'am.
backend, then we have to go for advanced Java, not core Java. The
Okay.
next technology, advanced Java. So after
Other
finishing,
softwares like Ruby on Rails and such
those
things
are
or such softwares
yeah,
are
yeah, everything. So many technologies are. So not only Java, you can choose technology, which one you want. So we can develop in Python, we can develop in Java, .NET, Ruby, or anything. There are so many. So it's not that only with Java I can develop a website. So you said website means only static pages, only like information providing page. So like a blogs or
hmm.
something, non-interactive pages. But if you're writing
Yes,
an
ma'am.
application, web application, not website. So interactive, like a e-site is there, shopping site is there, or your college app is there where you can log in and do some operations, or any test kind of an app where you can log in and apply write a test, something which is interactive. Those are like web applications. For that we have to learn other technologies, frameworks per
Okay.
se, or advanced Java frameworks, Python frameworks. So all those technologies you have to learn. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
You can plan some app. I'll help you, not online one, desktop one with this core Java. By the end of the
Yes,
year, if you want to develop something with Java,
yes, ma'am.
I'll help you on that. Just think of anything and let me know. I'll help you with that. Develop. Any useful app, small app which can be used by anyone. Among maybe it will be useful for you or a student point of view or anyone. Let it be anyone.
I had an idea of, like, generally we have normal basic to do apps, no, ma'am. In
Huh.
that we don't have location reminders. I mean to say, like, for suppose if we go to if we go to some place,
Hmm.
based on our location, it should remind us. That additional feature is not seen in most of the to do apps now, ma'am.
Okay. Huh.
So I
Location.
wanted the
Okay. But for
location based reminder, ma'am.
okay, for that nothing. See, we have to learn. Yeah, online concepts only we have to learn for that. Not only core Java. With core Java, we can't do that
Okay.
because you're thinking about the application on a mobile or something. No, it cannot be just on a system. No,
Yes, ma'am.
so it's a mobile application, so it should be on Android or something with the other things like GPRS tracking or location tracking. Libraries, libraries are there. Only technology we
Okay.
have to pick first. Which technology you want to code in? So we have to learn
Okay.
some extra technology. We have to learn that. Okay. Okay. This is square is true. And if you want to give a name to the shapes, that also we can do. When you develop something, you'll understand. Name of the shape. Right now, it is no shape. Here it will be initialized as no shape.
No.
Like so. Whenever user will create a particular object, then it will be initialized with. So just think of this constructor because here we have to write a constructor you can understand because we have to give a dimension
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
and we have to pass it to the super. And after that, name can be initialized with square. Till here, any confusion?
No, ma'am.
And display is okay. Display properties is okay for you.
Yes, ma'am.
But if it is for rectangle, what should we do? If this program is for rectangle,
We have to give two dimensions only.
yes.
Two dimensions.
So this function, okay. Okay, and then what should we
D2.
write here inside this?
Super D1 and this D2 is equal to D2.
And here we can give a name as
Rectangle.
so that whenever the shape is drawn, we instead of writing the word here, I can say name is drawn. Name plus is drawn. So that automatically it will write that. Okay. And is it Display properties, should I override now of this shape? Is this enough?
Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. We have to include D2 also, ma'am.
We have to include D2 also. We must override it. So
Yes.
override the display properties. The properties we have to print or we want to call.
We'll print.
All of them we should not print. We can call the super dot display because already it has printed, no?
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
And only we'll be discussing the last one with D2. See, I'm not writing presentation like D2 value, otherwise we can write it later. Any confusion till here?
No, ma'am.
And we should create an object of, let us see, can I create an object of shape now? Is it possible?
No, ma'am.
Let us see that error first. So whatever we learned now previously, we'll just check it once. Can I create a shape object or not?
Shape is abstract.
Okay. Cannot find this D2 is one problem. All problems are with the D2 only because I didn't declare a variable here. Now what is the error? Okay, here also I mentioned D.
B1, B1.
Last error is shape is
Shape is abstract.
cannot be instantiated. So this keyword cannot be used. I can't create an instance. But can I write like this? Is it okay? Will it work? Will it compile or will it give an error?
It is squares object, no, reference to shape.
Yes. Parents reference to the child object. Already we discussed, no? I think two classes before.
Yes, yes.
Every child object can be referred with parents reference.
Parents reference. Yes, ma'am. It will
Upcasting.
be.
Here it is upcasting. We didn't call it method, so let us see. S dot okay, and
Yes,
you
ma'am.
do the other methods one by one. S dot fill color, fill body color, and color. I say s dot display properties, okay. So same way you can create an object of the rectangle also. Shape reference only.
But body color we gave blue, no, ma'am. It is showing again white there.
Okay. So I didn't change maybe. When I fill body, I did not change this dot color is color. We didn't write that code. Yeah, we just put the message, but we did not change it actually. We need to change, no, body color has equal to given color. Then only it get.
There also we didn't.
Yeah, that's the issue. So if it's already written, we can even call the super dot actual. Actually, see, we don't have to write this method in. Actually, we don't have to write it because it's already defined, no? I don't have to write this method again in rectangle class. Not required.
But if we want to change only the rectangles color, we require now.
Code. This is the code to
Code.
change
Okay.
the color. Code is already inherited, no? Same code I should not write once again.
Oh, yes.
Because already we have written in the square class. There is no need of that in the rectangle class. It's not required. Same code I should not write. That's the reason I changed that. Body is filled with color. These are all dynamic. I don't have to write this and not even this part. I don't have to write all this. Only display property because display property had to call previous plus D2 should be added. Only constructor and the other will be inherited as it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, does not write the draw method. Fine. Because it is extending shape class, no? Otherwise, it could have extended the square class. If you had extended the square class, then I don't have to. Actually, because same code is already there in square, I could have extended the square class, multi-line. Shape class using a square, and here also it's not shown. One second. Okay, in rectangle it's not shown. Okay, fine. Because we call the super dot display property, no, in rectangle.
Super is shape. Okay.
So same thing will be printed as it is here. Whatever is there in
But if we
parents object.
parent of rectangle is square, no.
Yeah, square. Rectangle is square. So whenever I create rectangle object, it will create a square object. And whatever color is there in square, the same color will be applied here. Okay, let me check once again. We took a rectangle. So sorry. One second. Fine.
Hmm.
Is that clear right now or any confusion?
No, clear.
And it was just showing the dimension 2 below. Otherwise, I should not say println. You want side by side, no? We should just see
Yes, ma'am.
instead of println.
Right.
We had it. Yeah, yeah. So if you don't say println, it will come side by side. Okay. Just give a space and give that one. Is that clear? Any confusion?
Yes. No, no.
Now the other points we'll quickly go through that. If there is any abstract class, is abstract keyword mandatory for all the abstract methods? Is it mandatory for abstract methods?
No, ma'am, it is not mandatory. If the class is abstract,
Okay, let us see. So what is saying? Is it mandatory or not mandatory?
it is mandatory. I'm sorry, it is mandatory.
Yeah,
Ma'am.
because when it sees it looks like a normal method, so it is asking you to write this braces. Don't want that. It's saying make the method as abstract.
Abstract.
And can I have private methods as abstract?
No, no.
Illegal combination of modifiers. Those keywords are called as modifiers.
Modifiers.
Abstract and private are not compatible. Can you put static methods as abstract? Okay. Can you
No.
put your side as mute and can you just put the message answer in messages chat? Yeah. Any answer? You just put me in the chat. Yeah. So can I make the static methods an abstract method? Yeah. So let us just say that. Abstract. Sorry, I didn't save it. I didn't compile. So it's saying that again the same reason. Combination of modifiers, abstract and static is not allowed. Can I make a final method as an abstract method? So that means these keywords you should be very much aware of whenever we talk about static, private or final. Can't be overridden, inherited and not overridden. So these things we can never be using in the inheritance procedure. It won't participate in inheritance. So same concept again. Abstract cannot go with final. Now that means the same reason we can find out for this also. Can I make this abstract classes as final classes means? Reason is same. Those modifiers are illegal. Illegal combination of those modifiers. Because abstract classes must be inherited and final classes should not be inherited. Okay. Can I write a constructor in this class? Can it have a constructor? Okay. Can I have an abstract constructors? Can we have abstract constructors? Because constructors must be defined in the same class. It will never be inherited and never be overridden. It is not to be inherited. So modifier abstract not allowed here. Okay. Can I make a constructor as private? Can I declare a constructor as private? Okay. Okay. How do we call this constructor then? How do we call this constructor now? How to execute this method? How to execute a constructor of a class? What should we do so that a constructor gets executed? What should we do so that in a class, if you have written a constructor, that should be executed? How to execute a constructor of a class? Any class, forget about this. Call it. How do we call a constructor? How do we call a constructor? Object. That means now can I create an object of this class? So how do we do that? How do we use this class? Who will create an object of this class? Actually, who creates the object? Who calls this class as constructor? In inheritance, what will the child class do? Always calls the parent's constructor. This is what is the job of a child. So in inheritance, parent's object is always created indirectly by the child. So now is it possible? Can the child call the parent's constructor? No, because it's private. So the only way to use an abstract class is in the next level only. And if you write the constructor, there is no way to create an object of it. There is no other possible way. So will it compile or give an error? So you can see that he has private access in P. This is not. And first thing is C is not abstract and did not override the abstract function. Two errors here. Because you have extended an abstract class, you must override the abstract function. This is first error. Second error was we cannot have a private constructor in an abstract class. Because, okay, if I have written there also, where is the problem? When somebody calls it, when somebody extends this class. If nobody extends this class, will this program compile or does not compile? I just wrote one class, abstract class with a private constructor. Is anybody trying to extend this class? No. Just think I developed the device. There will be a lot of errors in the device, but I am not using. Currently, it is not in use. So will I face any problems? Will I face any kind of problems? No. So same concept here also. Compiler sees, okay, there is a constructor and it is private because according to Java program, even we can have private constructors for a class generally. For normal classes, we can even have private constructors. And such class objects will be only created via the same class. If just assume that static method is here only. In the same class, we have the main method. So what I can do here, I can just say new. I'm creating an object of the class within the same class. From the same class, then it is possible. Even if the class has a private constructor, I can still create an object of it. But from where? From within the same class. So this is possible for a normal classes. But for abstract classes, is it possible? Okay, now check that. Can we do that? Think again. This is a valid statement. But for abstract class, what is the problem? If there is a private constructor, that class object should be created only from within the same class, nowhere else. But what is the problem with abstract class? Abstract classes cannot be directly instantiated. Nobody can create a direct instance of abstract classes. So that means, is this statement valid statement or is it an error? Can you create a direct object of abstract class? Error. So this is a problem here. So cannot be instantiated. That is what is the problem. But actually we'll learn later actually. We can do like that also actually. So many things we can do later. We'll see that. So I wrote a class itself inside the child class inside the main function. These are called as inner classes. I can define a class anywhere actually, anywhere. Any code or any inside any part of the code we can write a class. Inside a function, inside a class, inside a block, anywhere almost. So this is an inner class which is actually extending which class? The parent class. So it's here only. And then it is just extending that particular. So as this new class is written within the P class only. It's a part of the P class only. So it has a direct access to which constructor? Private constructor. It can access it right now because it is inside the P class. But if child class is an external class, it will give an error. And external child classes cannot access the private constructor of its parent. So this is wrong now. If I have taken a class child of the abstract of the parent, but it is since it is private, we can't access it. The meaning of private should be clear. Private can be accessed only from here till here, anywhere. So if some class is defined within the same class, then it can access that. Then we can do that. This is okay. But not the B class. B class cannot extend, but B2 class can extend. You can see that. Still it is showing error at the B class, but not at which class? B2. So if I skip this class, it will compile. Then check that. Just simply, we'll learn this topic also later. Inner classes. See, if somebody belongs to you or something is within you, it can access all your information. Something which is internal to you, that can definitely access even your private information. So if you have a private group, so like if you have a group which is mentioned as a private group, whatever is yours private data, it can access right now. So inner class members can access every information of the outer class, even the private properties of it. Is that clear? This is a chapter actually. We'll have a chapter about it just internally on this teaching. Right? And yesterday we spoke about the interfaces also. So abstract class is only just a model partially developed. So remaining part we have to develop in the next level, child classes. So whatever is useful you can inherit, and whatever you want to change it, you can override it. But abstract methods must be overridden in that. So these points also we can go through once, and if you have any doubts, you can ask me again. And we'll go for the next is interfaces actually. So what about interfaces we have learned? It's a special class with only abstract methods, and the class keyword is replaced with which keyword? Interface keyword. So let us write one interface now. So interface starts with the, replaces the class keyword with interface. And it consists of only abstract methods. So I don't even need this keyword. It's not mandatory. Something I'm just giving partially here. You have to write many. So interfaces can have only abstract methods. So abstract keyword is not mandatory. First thing. Now second is access specifiers. Abstract keyword is optional with abstract methods, as by default all the methods are declared as abstract. It consists of only public members, no other access specifiers allowed here. So to test that, the only way to test is put some other access specifiers. Just mention private or protected or something. Because default is not a keyword, no? So I just want to put some other keyword and see whether it's giving an error or not. Let us compile. So will it give an error right now? As I said, it should consist of only public methods. Anything should be public only. And all are by default public. So modifier protected is not allowed here. And if I write private also, definitely private is more secure. It is definitely not allowed. Private is not allowed here. So now how to prove whether it is default or is it public? How can I prove that? How to prove that the methods inside this interface are public or are they default? Anyhow, we know the access specifiers order, no? What is the order of access specifiers? Public. Next is after that and after that private. So when we wrote protected, it's not allowing. Private, it's not allowing. Definitely this is in the middle of it. This access specifier is definitely not allowed because higher than that is protected. Protected is only not allowed. Default is lesser than that. So definitely default is also not allowed here. That is one way you can understand logically, or else we have to write packages here so that you can understand. You understood that concept, packages? You write this program inside a package and then check, can I access it or not from some other location. Some other package we should access. If this interface is visible, these methods are accessible, then it means it is a public method. For that you have to write some code. But anyhow, we can understand logically that all the members are public because it's not even allowing which keyword protected. So they are all by default public. Now, are they static or non-static? These methods. Can we have static methods? Because that keyword is not present here. So let me write it and check. Are the methods static or non-static? Can you say, are these methods static or non-static by default? Yes, because static methods are neither, they'll be restricted to class only. They can't be inherited or go to the next level and cannot be overridden. But these all are abstract methods. They must be overridden by some other classes. So I cannot have this keyword here. Static methods not allowed here. Missing method body or declare abstract. So it is assuming that it's like a normal method. But all methods in this is abstract. So static is not allowed here. So by default, all methods are of which access specifier? This is the default access specifier of every method in the interface, whether you mention or you don't mention. This is by default. And in interface, we have only constants. Okay, if I just take the login page color, I want the color should be just white. No other color I want on this page. That means now, can somebody change this color or white? What is the by default data? It's public by default, it is by default static, and it's by default final. How do I prove this, whether it's static or not? I said interfaces has only public, static and final kind of variables. Since these are finals, they must be provided with a value. If I don't give a value, it will give an error. Because by default, they are all public, static and final. And for final variables, we must give a value. So it is giving an error saying that expected is equal to. You didn't give that is equal to, so it's giving an error. Means you must initialize it with some value. Meaning of that is you must initialize final variables with some value. Otherwise, it is an error. So if I give this color, can somebody change or not? If it's final, can someone change that? Okay. How to access that? Can we access that color feature in some other class? Can test3 access that color, print that color? Can we think again? What is the access specifier for it? Yeah, it's static, it's public, it's final. Means can someone access this, or it is not accessible to anyone? Can someone, means it's another class, same class. Why? What is the access specifier for same class access? If it is private only, it is visible to the same class. Did I mention private? Can we have private things inside interfaces? No. So it's not private. It's not having any protection. It's a widest access specifier. Anybody can access this. That is what is the meaning of access specifier. Why did we mention public? I said anyone can access this. And how to access? Definitely we can access, but how to access this color feature? This is an interface. See, when I compile this program, we'll get two classes, test3 class and class name login page. What is the other class name? Did the class compile or not? Did we get a dot class file? When I compile this program, we got the dot class file. So this is a class. Actually, interfaces are also classes only. Only keyword is different here, interface. But they are also Java classes. So if a Java class has any static information, how to access that? How can someone access a static property of one class from some other class? How to print static information of some other class? Class name. So the class name is login page dot color. So this is accessible. Some problem. No, it's not executing. Okay, sorry. I gave a package keyword. Sorry. There should not be any package keyword here because packages compilation is different. Okay, we're able to do. Is it modifiable or we can't modify? Can somebody modify this color to some other color? So cannot assign a value to the final variable color of login page. This is an error. So that means I said all the variables are internally using which keywords? I don't have to mention these three keywords. They are by default public, they are by default static, and they are by default final. I don't have to mention for the information. Same way, abstract is not required here. It is also implicitly allowed. So any methods which you write, they're all by default public, and so these two things you have to remember. Methods are public and abstract, and variables are public, static, and abstract. Okay, is this clear right now? Can we have a constructor in the interface? Can an interface have a constructor? Because there are no instance, we can't instantiate, we can't extend this interface. There's no link with this class to any other class. It's just like a dummy model. You can just look at this and try to develop your program. There's no inheritance, there is no child for this class. Neither you can create a direct object nor you can go for inheritance. So how do we use interfaces is some class should implement, use a keyword called implements login page. So if I'm saying Gmail login page and Gmail login page wants to use this login protocols. How to design a login page? They have already given the standards here. Okay. In a login page, we should have some method like this. Okay, this is wrong actually. In a login page, we should have abstract methods, login and this one. Means in any login page, we should provide two options. One is login option, another is register option. So a class can implement an interface and it must override all its abstract methods. But with public access specifiers. You have to understand that it must override with public. Can you tell the reason? Now it's mandatory. If you implement an interface, you must implement those methods with public access specifier. It becomes mandatory. Why? Here I didn't mention access specifier, but still they have which access specifier? Interface methods are by default public. By default public. Yes. So overriding rule says either we should provide the same or we should provide a higher one. And there is no higher than public. Public is the highest one. So a class, inside a class, whichever method you write without a keyword access specifier, it is having which access specifier? By default, no, classes has default access specifier. If I don't write, it will automatically take as which access specifier? Default. So it is giving error here because interfaces has by default public, but classes will not have the public. Classes by default have which access specifier? Default access specifier. So that is the reason we have to mention it, because otherwise it will consider as default and we'll get an error there. So one point you should remember that whenever you implement, when a class implements the interface, it must override all its abstract methods with public access specifier. As interfaces are by default public, as by default public methods, but classes or abstract classes by default has default methods. So while overriding, must provide the higher, same or the higher, and there is no higher access specifier than public. So it becomes mandatory for you to write the class implements an interface must override all of its abstract methods with public. It becomes mandatory now. Clear? Any confusion here till now? And there are more points to discuss, like one class can implement more than one interface also. So there are many points again comes here. One class can implement at a time one or more interfaces. Actually, it can. A class cannot extend more than one class. Generally, inheritance is not possible. Inheritance of two parents is not allowed. That is multiple. Multiple is not allowed in Java. But what is possible here? But one class can implement more than one interface. You can simply say more than one interface. So this is replacing the of the multiple inheritance topic, because multiple inheritance is not possible. So this is replaced here. So just think I have an interface A with only one function. Okay, I'm just writing simple code here. Saying I have interface F2, sorry, B, and here we have again another abstract method F2 is F3. Okay. Now, if a class wants, it can implement A, comma B, and what it must do, as it has implemented A interface, it has to override which method? F1 method with public. Okay. Similarly, it should also, now it has implemented B, so it should also
Your
override.
screen is not seen now.
Sorry, screen is not seen.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. One second. Let me stop. Is it okay now? Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So if I take one interface with one abstract method, another interface with some other abstract methods, and if some class implements both the interfaces, so it should implement all the abstract methods of this interface as well as B interface. So I should override this one. I should override the second interface F2 method, and also I should override the F3 of this part. But if even here we have an F2, it will not create any problem, because the syntax is same here. You can see the signature of the function void F2. Here also it is nothing but void F2. It is just the signature of the method. There is no code here exactly. So whether I am implementing A is F2 or B is F2, concept is same. We have to override and avoid F2 method. So I don't have to override F2 twice. This it is once it is enough. If you override this method once, that is more than enough. So this is satisfying. It satisfies both the interfaces, both A and B interface. Okay, is that clear? Because the signature is similar to the interface A's method as well as it's similar to the interface B's method. So there is no complication here. There is no complication. But the same thing when we have done in inheritance, it was not allowing you. Multiple inheritance wasn't allowed in Java. Why? Because just as if this is class A and it has a function called F1. And same way if you have a class B and it also has the same function. Because two classes can have same functions. Now maybe it has some other functions, that is secondary. But now in both the classes, which function is common right now? F1 is common. This is a method with a body. It's not an abstract method. Now, if somebody extends, if that option was available in Java, if multiple inheritance was allowed in Java, what will happen right now? What is it going to inherit? Inherits F1 from A class and also from which class? And F2 from B class. So in this class, how many F1s we have right now? How many forms of F1? F1 from parent A and F1 from parent B. So can we have same method twice in the same class? Can we have two copies of the same function definition? Can we provide? These two are two methods, two different methods from two different classes. That is overloading. But is it overloading? This is having the same method with no argument. This is also same method with no argument. So child got two methods like this. It got one method from parent A like this, another method from parent B like this. Is it possible? Inside child class, can we have F1 twice? No. So because of that, they have avoided this concept. Inheritance is not possible. So it will create a clash or ambiguity. Which one I should create? So duplication. So this is an error, or we say ambiguity error, and so that multiple inheritance is not allowed. Inheritance is not allowed, but multiple implementation is allowed. Implementation of interfaces is allowed because interfaces does not have any logic in that. They have just the abstract method which you must override it. Is that clear to you? Any confusion? Till here, we have to do some programs with this concept actually. And one more point here is a class can do both extension and implementation at a time. Means it must extend a class first and then only it can then implement an interface. So a class can do both extend and implement, use both the keywords. So if there is one class called A and there is one interface called B and a class wants to use both of them, it has to first go for extension only. Now you can understand what it may do here is whatever it may be present here, it may inherit or override, it's up to you. You can inherit or override, but whatever is mentioned here, you must override. So definitely I should just say public void function2 is mandatory to override, but optional. Optional is what? void function. This is not mandatory. This one is optional right now. You may or may not override it. Optionally, may or may not override this. Okay, is that clear? And it's always extension first, not implementation. Before implementation, extension child should be created with the inheritance of parent. Then only somebody can implement an interface. So some class only can implement an interface, a completely developed class. So if it has an extension pending, it can't do. Let us extend it first, create a child class. That class only can implement the interfaces abstract methods. Is that clear till here or any confusions? Right? So I'll just stop till here today, and tomorrow I'll show practically examples on interfaces. Right? So whatever we learned here, tomorrow, like how we have done with the abstract class example today. So tomorrow, anyhow notes are with you. You can try one example with that Gmail login page interface. So try to do that if you are able to do. Otherwise, tomorrow anyhow I'll show practically first as I've shown today. Okay. Any doubts from today's topic? So once we have finished this, we'll be starting with the exception handling also, most probably from tomorrow, or we may start GUI, or I'll just decide tomorrow whether we have to start GUI or exception handling. Right? Thank you.